She hated that even more. The lower levels of Nereid Deep were uglier than the city above. The polished civilian corridors gave way to pressure doors, reinforced glass, cabling thick as torsos, and maintenance trenches humming with hidden current. Here the walls showed scars where something had been bolted up and later torn loose in a hurry. On one blast door, she found 3 deep grooves cut through steel from the inside. On another, someone had painted in bright orange letters, "If it sounds like you, answer with numbers." Below that, in a second-hand and darker paint, ITLEARNS numbers 2. That was when Lena considered turning back for real. She thought about the submersible, the long climb up through black water, the debt, the money waiting, Joran's face on the call. Then the corridor speaker above her clicked. "You are closer than I was." Her own voice again. Lena did not look up. "What does that mean?" "It means I got farther than you think." "Who are you?" A hiss of static. Then, with quiet bitterness, "You ask that too late every time." The light over the blast door snapped from red to green. It opened. The geology wing beyond had never been meant for public access. The corridor walls were unfinished composite streaked with salt deposits. Observation windows looked into labs packed with broken sensor arrays, shattered sample tanks, and tables covered in stone cores darker than anything Lena had seen mined on Europa before. Each core had thin metallic filaments woven through it like veins. At the end of the hall stood a circular chamber with the words Echo Survey printed above the hatch. The room inside was a chaos of overturned consoles and snapped restraints. A central plinth held an empty socket exactly the size and shape of the black box core in Lena's retrieval brief. So this was where it was supposed to come back. On a far console, one screen still glowed. "Video archive available," it read. Lena touched the screen with gloved fingers. The first clip showed 5 researchers in survey harnesses staring through an observation window. The camera angle did not show what they were looking at, only the reflection in the glass. All 5 faces had the same expression. Not wonder, not fear, recognition. One woman whispered, "It knows where to place the reply." Another muttered, "That isn't possible." Then someone off camera began to sob. The clip ended. The second clip showed Dr. Hale arguing with a woman Lena recognized from station records on a nearby console. Imani Reyes, systems engineer. Younger in the recording, sharper, eyes bright with exhaustion and anger. "You built an interpretive bridge," Hale said. "I built a filter," Imani shot back. "You people kept calling it a bridge because you wanted a miracle. It is projecting human memory back through the instrumentation. Because the instrumentation gave it a shape to project through, shut the chamber down. We shut it down and lose the event history. Keep it running and lose the station." The recording cut there. Lena was replaying it when a life sign monitor on the edge of the console stack chirped once. She turned toward the sound. Another hallway branched off the survey room into medical cryo. Most of the pods were dark. 2 had cracked open long ago, leaving curled frost across the floor. One in the far corner glowed amber. Inside lay a woman with half her head shaved for implant access and deep lines carved around her mouth by years of hard thinking. "Imani Reyes." Lena stared through the fogged pod glass. The status line read, "Stasis interrupted. Manual wake required." That was a terrible idea. So was everything else. Lena keyed the wake sequence. It took 6 minutes and sounded like someone slowly drowning in reverse. When the pod opened, Imani folded out of it choking and shivering, one hand clawing at the air until Lena caught her wrist. "Easy," Lena said. "Breathe first, questions later." Imani dragged air into herself with painful effort. Her eyes found Lena's face, widened, and then hardened with something like despair. "Oh," she said. That one word landed badly. Lena let go of her wrist, not the warm welcome I pictured. Imani sat on the edge of the pod and looked around the dim cryo room as if checking whether it still existed. How many cycles? What? How many times has the station repeated since I went under? Lena almost smiled. You say that like it makes sense. Imani looked back at her. If you're here, it makes more sense than anything else. Lena fetched a thermal wrap from a storage locker and tossed it over her. Start simple. Is there anything alive in this city besides mold and bad ideas? Imani wrapped the thermal around herself with shaking fingers. Depends what you mean by alive. Not doing this. Imani took a breath, steadied herself, and nodded toward the survey room. You found the echo lab, then you know the station did not die when public records say it did. I figured that out around the time I found a man half inside a wall. Imani closed her eyes briefly. Elio. You know him. I knew all of them. That shut Lena up for a moment. Imani opened her eyes again and looked at Lena more carefully. What year is it? Lena told her. Imani stared at the floor for a long time. 11 years, she said at last. Longer outside than inside, probably. Inside what? Imani raised her head. That depends on whether this is the first time you asked. Lena had no energy for riddles. She pulled the portable recorder from her pack and played Hale's message. Imani listened without surprise. That was near the end, she said. Near the end of what? Trying to pretend it was still science. Lena crouched against a console. Talk straight, Rays. Imani looked as if she had to choose which truth might do the least damage. We found a structure below the seafloor. Not a ship, not ruins, more like an organ built out of rock and field geometry. It reacted when we scanned it, not immediately. It reacted once our instruments built enough models around it. We thought it was responding to our signals. Later we realized it was responding to our interpretations. That sentence is ugly. It gets uglier. Imani rubbed her arms under the thermal wrap. People started hearing themselves. At first it was tiny things, a phrase in the comms lag, their own voice under a transmission. Then recordings changed after you watched them. Then security footage showed people in places they had not been yet. The station stopped behaving like a place and started behaving like a test. Lena thought of the docking registry 4 hours ahead of her arrival. You think the structure can see the future. Imani gave a tired, humorless smile. Human beings love that phrase, makes it sound neat, manageable. No, I think it creates overlapping possible responses and throws them at us until we reveal which ones matter. Lena hated that answer because some part of her understood it anyway. What is the listening chamber? She asked. Imani's face changed. Fear, real fear, a mistake. Be specific. We built an interface to isolate the signal patterns and map them against human cognition. Hale wanted translation. The sponsors wanted prediction. I wanted a cleaner filter. Sponsors. Imani looked at her sharply. Who sent you? Man with no name and too much money. Then not much has changed. Lena stood. The core, where is it? Imani hesitated only a second too long. Lena noticed. It's in the chamber, Imani said. Of course it is. We moved the synchronized event history there after the early loops corrupted the archive. Lena frowned. Loops. Imani pressed fingertips to her temple as if the word itself hurt. You do something. The station reacts. A message appears that should not exist yet. You change what you do because of the message. Then a new message appears built from the change. It is not time travel in the way movies sell it. It is recursive contact. The structure models pressure points in thought. It folds choices back through whatever medium can carry them. Through speakers, through recordings, through comms, through dreams near the end. Lena looked toward the hall. Can it use live voices? Imani did not answer quickly. That was answer enough. They left cryo together, Lena armed and suspicious, Imani weak on her feet, but moving with the ugly determination of someone who already knew the building was trying to kill her. The geology wing seemed subtly altered on the walk back. Hallway lights that had been dark now pulsed blue. One observation window that had shown a broken sample room now revealed a clean lab with chairs aligned around a table, as if awaiting a meeting. Lena stopped. "You seeing that?" Imani barely glanced at it. "Do not look too long." "That is not comforting." "It isn't meant to be." In the survey room, Lena pulled up the station map again. New routes had opened in the lower levels. Corridors that were missing before now glowed in green lines leading to the chamber below. "You said it herds people," Lena said. Imani nodded toward response density. "That is another ugly sentence. It means it wants you where your choices matter most." "Thanks, hate it." The next log they found came from much later in the collapse. Dr. Hale's face looked gaunter now, eyes bloodshot, jaw working too hard. "We have confirmed at least 7 branch imprints," he said into the camera. "Possibly more. They are not ghosts. They are not hallucinations in the simple sense. They are predictive residues rooted backward through signal-bearing systems. Some may correspond to viable outcomes. Some are manipulations shaped by the structure after observing our fear responses. We no longer know which is which." Hale leaned closer. "If you are hearing yourself, the critical question is not whether the voice is real. The critical question is what part of you it needs." The image shook. Somewhere off-screen, a woman shouted. Then Hale said something so quietly Lena almost missed it. "It prefers the ones who fight." The feed died. Lena looked at Imani. That sounded familiar. Imani's stare stayed on the dead screen. Too familiar. They followed the new route through maintenance tunnels below geology. Here the station lost the last traces of city and became pure function. Pressure pumps thundered behind composite walls. Pipes sweated warm brine. Ladders sank into darkness. More than once Lena saw movement at the edge of her lamp beam and snapped the coil gun up, only to find hanging cable or her own reflection in a convex inspection mirror. Then they reached a corridor where every wall screen showed the same image. Lena from the chest up, lit by emergency red. In every version, she was looking directly into the camera. The screens woke one by one as she and Imani approached. "Screen 1, go back to the dock. The water route is still open." "Screen 2, do not trust Imani after the floodgate." "Screen 3, if the chamber asks a question, answer with silence." "Screen 4, whatever you do, do not think about Joran." Lena stopped so hard Imani nearly walked into her. Her brother's name hung in the corridor like a knife. Imani's face went pale. "I never said that name." "Neither did I." The 5th screen flickered on. This Lena looked exhausted almost beyond human shape. A bruise darkened one cheek. Blood crusted the corner of her mouth. She whispered, "It bought his death before it bought you." All 5 screens went black. Lena could hear her own breathing inside the helmet. "Who is it?" Imani asked. Lena answered without looking at her, "My brother." "How would it know?" Lena laughed once, and the sound came out ugly. "Maybe because I thought about him every 10 minutes on the way down. Maybe because my charming employer did his homework. Maybe because this whole place is up inside my skull." Imani grabbed her arm before she could walk on. "If it can use what matters most to you, then that means you cannot let it choose the terms." Lena pulled her arm free. "You got a manual for that." "No, but I know this. The most convincing messages are usually the ones that make you feel less trapped." Lena glanced at the dead screens. "That sounds like advice from experience." Imani did not deny it. Far below them, a deep metallic pulse moved through the station. Not an alarm, not machinery. A note too low to hear cleanly and too strong not to feel. The walls trembled once. Imani shut her eyes. "It knows we're descending." "Good," Lena said. "Maybe it can save us."